Hi guys, this is Pestily and welcome to another Escape From Tarkov video. In this video I'm going to cover body armors and everything you need to know from budget runs all the way up to fully geared sweaty runs. So guys, without further ado, let's crack straight into it. Now I haven't done a specific video on this in the past. I have done one in the past where I did a what gear you should use from level 1 all the way up to level 40 and you saying at what level you unlock different things. I am going to do that again in the future. I want to do an updated version. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it before patch point 12. Maybe I'll do like a pre-release and a post-release. But I thought it'd be a good idea to touch on armors and why I use specific armors, because I get this question a lot during my streams. A lot of people don't realize that some armors, in my opinion, are fairly wasteful, and you'll actually be throwing away a lot of rubles when you could actually avoid having that issue whilst playing the game. Now, this is my personal preference, and I'm sure you guys will have your own opinions, and feel free to share them throughout the community either down below or on my Discord. But for me, this is how I do most of my runs. So moving into the first kind of loadout that I use, this is more my lower level and my budget loadout. Depending on the actual gear that, or the raid I'm doing, generally the first thing I'll do is I'll put these two items on. Now, if I want to go that little bit extra, I'll chuck on Swordens, but these two items are not expensive at all. You're looking around 44,000 rubles for the armor and another 18,000 for the helmet. Now, the question is that I always get is why this helmet? Now, this helmet is available from Ragman level 1. It has a level 3 armor class, and it also has a high ricochet chance. This helmet has saved my lives more times than I can imagine, like that I can count. I can't even fathom how many times this helmet has saved my life. With level 3 class armor, it will stop pistol bullets, it'll stop shotgun pellets, and it'll give you a baseline to stop dying to people that are either using shit ammo or low calibers, being your pistols or your shotguns. And it also gives you that freedom, that high ricochet chance to deflect one of those BS rounds coming at you, or the M61 or whatever. It has that high ricochet chance, and this one has saved me a lot. Now, it's not the helmet that you use forever. So the way I do it is I wear this helmet. It costs me 18,000 rubles. And if I find a better helmet in the raid, I toss the helmet and then I put that new helmet on. So if I kill a guy and the helmet's still in good quality, I'll chuck on the better helmet. And you're only throwing away an 18,000 ruble helmet. If you have it insured and you're on another map outside of labs, you can chuck the helmet and you'll probably get it back from insurance, because most people don't pick it up. It's only 18,000 rubles for 4 squares, so they're not going to pick it up to use, and they're very rarely going to pick it up to sell, because its resale value is only about 10,000 rubles. So as a helmet, it's one of those helmets that will just keep turning over and giving you more returns over and over again. And the only time you can actually lose these helmets is either in labs or if someone's not wearing a helmet and they put it on. Moving over to the armor, and this one is from Ragman level 2. So the first helmet you can chuck on at level 1, but the first body armors you can buy are at actual level 2 traders. At level 15, you'll unlock Ragman level 2, and you can buy this armor for 44,000 rubles. So combining both of these, you're 62,000 rubles deep for a budget run. And the objective is to gear up your armor. Now, it's another class 3 armor, so your pistols and your shotguns are going to get stopped pretty comfortably, and it has 60 armor points. Now, with armor points, if your armor points go underneath 50% durability of what it was when it started, that's about the time you want to be looking for a new armor. And if you can throw it because it's out and grab a new armor, definitely do that. If you're repairing an armor over and over again, once it gets to around probably about 75%, that's when I start looking at either replacing it, because it's only really going to stop that 1 or 2 bullets before it's down under 50%. The lower the durability, the less chance there is for the armor to reduce the damage or to stop the damage completely. So it's important to take note of the armor points of armor. Now, some people have said in my chat that they would rather use the Ragman 3 armor during their budget runs, because it's only an extra 15 or 20,000 rubles. And that's these two bad boys down here. Now, with these ones, they are armor class 4. Now, the left one is about 60,000 rubles. The right one's about 80,000 rubles. If you probably aren't really noticing the difference straight away, yeah, they're armor class 4, which is slightly better and will stop those higher penetration rounds. But the armor points are lower, and so their effectiveness drops really rapidly. And personally, I'd rather use a armor that has 60 armor points and can take more bullets from lower calibers than one that's going to take less bullets. The other thing to take note of here is in the material. This one is a armor steel, and these two are both ceramic. So when you repair ceramic, diminishing returns is really, really bad. So anything that's a ceramic armor, in my opinion, is just not worth it because you're not going to get those multiple uses like the other armors, being ones with armor, or some of them are called titans and stuff like that. So that's something to take note of. So personally, I would honestly just not even bother using these two right here. Now, when it comes to rigs, I actually prefer to take a backpack over a rig. If I do take a rig, I'll take in a scav vest, and then I'll use any backpack that I can buy at the time. The Burkut from Ragman 2 is really good, or the scav backpack. You can find plenty of these in raids of scavs as well. And what I do is I have the backpack with a spare mag in there, and I'll kill something, take their rig, and then use their rig from that point onwards. If you use a scav vest and it's insured, you can throw it and you'll nearly always get them back. And so you can just have a spare few scav vests, and this is how you save those little bit of money from time to time, particularly on those more budget runs, because you don't want to keep burning through your bankroll. Now, I will go into the gear leveling on the future video of what guns and that to use, but take into note here that you can actually use a lot of guns that don't require magazines, as in you don't need to have magazines in a vest or a rig to be able to change them out. So the SKS can now top load. You can get, say, Vepr Hunter mags that will fit in your pockets, and there's different options out there now that you don't need to take a vest with you. Now, when it comes to contacts, so contact Swordens, high sports, and the GSSHs, personally, I like the Swordens, but it is 100% personal preference. Now, each one has nearly the exact same hearing distance, amplification, but when it comes to treble and bass, that's where you're going to see that massive difference. Now, the Swordens and the high sports, I believe, are the most balanced in treble and bass, whereas the contacts feel a lot more tinnier, and the GSSHs, either it's a bug, but they seem really loud and just annoying at the moment. So footsteps are extremely loud, being your own footsteps, and they're just not worth using. But they are the cheapest, and that's probably why they're set the cheapest. Previously, before patch 11.7, they were actually the best in the game, in my opinion, and they were the second cheapest. They've moved them around a little bit, and I expect there'll be changes in the future. Now, a small variation I'll make to this loadout is if I'm going factory. Generally, a lot of people at the moment in factory are going in there to get their pistol kills. And if you're going into factory for a quest and you just want to do a slightly cheaper run, you don't want to be going in full sweaty, I would wear one of the ZSH helmets with a face shield. They're not overly expensive. Now, this is probably one of the most annoying things in the game because you're not going to know about it until you've done it, and then once you've done it, you can't change it. Chemical Part 4 has two different people you can hand it into. Either Therapist, where you get more money and I think a bit extra XP, or Skier, where you don't get as much money in XP, but you unlock the black ZSH purchase, which is 20,000 rubles cheaper than the greeny tan color. So it's got the exact same stats. There's no difference whatsoever, but it is considerably cheaper. So if you can, or if you do remember, or if you haven't done it yet, or next wipe, make sure you hand it in to Skier. It's just one of those things that there's no changing after you've done it, and you will be wasting money buying a green one or tan one instead of the black one. And you could just save yourself the money there. Now, the ZSH is actually quite a good helmet. I will go back really quickly here with this helmet here, the level 1 Ragman. You can put any of the contacts on, but with the ZSH you can't. So you can't put any contacts or hearing amplification on with this helmet. But you sacrifice that for having a face shield, and that is why this helmet is really good for factory. You want to be able to stop those pistols and shotguns, particularly from scavs, and then all those people on the skier task stir up to get their 6 pistol kills. You want to be able to have that protection from pistols. So that is the helmet I would highly suggest for there. Everything in the meantime, though, unless you're using the top high-end sweaty geared armors, I only use this armor. I don't change it to anything else. Personally, I think this armor and this helmet right here is the bee's knees when it comes to your budget basic loadouts. I use this loadout all the time. Now, there are some that come with rigs included. I find them really annoying. I know there's other people that have done videos and suggestions on using them more often. This is my personal preference, and like I said, if you got your personal preferences, feel free to spread that throughout the community because, you know, the more education we get out there, the more people can enjoy the game. Now, if you are doing that budget run and you don't want to spend the money on a backpack, but you want to have a different option, you can trade a teapot for this belt rig. And it comes with a lot of space in it. It has no negative effects towards your turning or your walk speed or run speed or anything like that. And it holds plenty of items. So it is a good option if you want to do the barter trade for a teapot. Teapots generally go somewhere between 30 and 50,000 rubles, depending on the time of the day. And so you can use that as a bit of a backpack and then loot backpacks later on, or have a big backpack anyway and have an extra room to loot. So that is another option, and it's a valid one. And I'm just chucking that in here as a bit of a tip that you can use. I don't see a lot of people using this, but I don't think it's a bad option at all. Another point I want to bring in here is the Karasa. I don't think the Karasa is worth using at all unless you loot it from a raider. So for example, if I go into labs, I've got my 6B23 armor on, I kill a raider, and there's a perfectly good Karasa on him. I'll switch it up to the Karasa because it has 70 armor points instead of 60. That is literally the only reason why I trade up to a Karasa until I get up to a better armor from that. So that's kind of where I say it's better off trading up. You go in with the cheaper one, you can throw that. It doesn't cost as much. You get yourself a Karasa and you're upscaling all your gear and armor. That's where you actually make a lot more money and save wasting armor and money by buying stuff that's not that much better, but it costs a lot more. Now, moving on to Comtacs and Swordens, I spoke about them all here. They do vary in prices. They do unlock on each level of Ragman. So you got Ragman 1, the GSSH. I've been told the audio has been fixed on these and they're not as loud as they used to be. But personally, I can't use them at all anymore. It sounds horrible. The Comtacs do have a little bit more treble to them. The Swordens are pretty balanced overall. And then you've got the Tactical High Sports, which are the most expensive and probably sound the best out of everyone. But I think it's just under 40,000 rubles. The prices do fluctuate a little bit at the moment, so I don't want to give fixed prices. But to me, I don't think they're really worth it. And I'll tell you why in a second. So now moving on to your end game sweaty gear loadouts. Now, for me personally, there's really only one loadout I like to use, and it's the Gen 4 Assault with the airframe and TacTac. This is my go-to loadout for best in slot. I do chuck on my Swordens. I do like the sound amplification, and that is why the airframe is the best for this. With the airframe, you can actually wear Swordens, whereas with the Fast MT, you can't put the chops on as well. Now, there is a difference between the chops and the ears. The chops you need to trade a G-Phone X for, whereas the ears you can just buy straight up for cash. Now, G-Phone X's are very expensive at the moment. I'll make sure I chuck up a quick clip here or an image of the flea market prices. G-Phone X's are really expensive at the moment, and that's because everyone's wanting to wear the best gear, and that is why this helmet is the best, or being the helmet this is as the best gear. People aren't using that one, and the G-Phone prices have gone up. So if you find a G-Phone X, make sure you get it and save it because it's worth about 80 to 100,000 rubles. I honestly don't believe it's that much of a change up to switch over to the ears. The only difference is instead of just being the ears, it's got the jaws with the chops. So it's not a massive difference. It might cost you that little bit, but overall, this is pretty much the helmets that you want to wear if you're wearing the best in slot. Now, you can switch out your armors depending on how your playstyles are, and I'm going to cover the pretty much the three armors that I see the most of, and the reasons why I think people use them, and why I would pick one over the other. So the Gen 4 Assault, being the best armor in the game, in my opinion, covers the arms, and it doesn't just cover up until this part of the arm; it covers all the way down to the hand. So when you actually got your gun in front of you, you get shot in the arm. The arm takes some of the blow with the armor, reducing the damage, and therefore you don't black out your arms as quickly, and then also take that damage spread out through the body. The people that shoot you in the arms the most out of absolutely everyone are raiders, and I think the way it works, the first part that's exposed when you go around a corner, being generally your arm, is what the raiders hit, and you'll see them hit your arms a lot. If you use either of these two armors, you're going to lose your arms pretty quickly, and then it's going to be less accurate when you're shooting. So personally for me, I don't use these two on labs at all. Now you do have the option of taking in the armor and the budget setup like I spoke about before, and then upscaling to a Gen 4 Assault and picking up an all arch from the raiders themselves. And that's what I do a lot of. Now the TacTac does stack with the actual body armor. So the TacTac will take some of they'll lose some durability and take some of the blow of the ammo that's been shot at you, and then it will go into the actual body armor itself. So it's worth doubling up your armor if you can afford it. This is, like I said, the top tier sweaty kind of loadouts. Now, the only time I think TV rigs are worth it as a rig is when you can't put a tac tech on. And so you're in labs, you're killing raiders, you'll put on their tac tech, or you might put on the TV rig until you find a tac tech. And then the beta backpacks, you can fit 2 of these TV rigs into the backpack. So I put 2 of the TV rigs in the backpack and wear a tac tech, and then I've got all this extra loot space. So that's the reason why TV rigs are pretty good. I do hold on to them generally because you can go back into a raid with them, kill a raider, take their rig, then put the TV rig into the backpack. The tac tech is a class 4 armor compared to the TV rig, and therefore I think personally you're better off going with that higher armor class because you want to be able to take as many bullets to save losing money from dying and losing the whole loadout, right? So it all comes down to personal preference. Now, the other 2 armors I do see people using are the Gen 4. The reason behind this is generally they're cheaper and you've already used your quota. But also they don't have as much penalty to your movement speed. My head's in the way. There's a 17% movement speed reduction here compared to the 11, but it does have a bit more of a turning speed deficit. They both cover the stomach, even though it doesn't look like the assault covers the stomach. They both cover the stomach. Now, there is one that's called the full protection. It's not worth it, guys. The full protection, the 6B43, they're both not worth it. Your movement speed is penalized really heavily, your normal walking speed, and it's just not worth it. So, guys, you can try it out as much as you want, but you are literally just flushing money down the toilet there. Now, the Zook armor is quite popular, and I'm surprised it is as popular as it is. It does have an armor class 6 compared to the armor class 5 of the Gen 4s, but the big penalty for this one is every time it is destroyed, it has massive diminishing returns on the repair because it's ceramic. Whereas these 2 are both Titans. Every time you repair them, it doesn't take as much off it. So you repair a Zook, it loses like 20 durability on the first repair. It's really, really painful to repair this. So whilst you might be a little bit quicker moving around corners and have not as much movement speed reduction with that slightly higher class, it's expensive and it doesn't cover your arms. And every time you repair it, you lose a lot of the durability. My personal preference, I don't use it, but there are plenty of people out there that like to use it. Now, when people say, would you buy the Ulach helmet? I say no. It is a class 4 helmet with a high ricochet chance. That's all well and sweet, but it costs 4 times the amount of the green 18,000 ruble helmet. But to be honest, it has pretty much the same stopping power as the other helmet. So you're spending 4 times the amount for a helmet that doesn't have a face shield and has a slightly better armor class, but doesn't really stop the top tier ammos anyway. Now, I have left out the Alton and the Vulcan. Personally, I don't like wearing these helmets because I like being able to see the game as much as possible. They are great helmets. I would not use the Vulcan at all. You can't wear any hearing amplification. It costs you about 400,000 rubles for a class 6 helmet, but the face shield is only class 4, so your face shield's not even that good. The Alton is actually probably one of the best helmets in the game, but it does take up quite a considerable amount of your screen. But it is overall a pretty good helmet. The issue I have with that helmet is there's a bit of a forward tilt on the face shield, and I actually do get the first bullet to hit my head up and the second bullet to hit you in the chin. I have that happen a lot, and I've actually had a Makarov do it to me, which it's a pretty old clip, but it is somewhere. And I got one tapped by a Makarov, and it's just like that fact that it doesn't cover your chin properly. Just, I don't know, it aggravates me, and I don't like my screen being taken up too much. The other helmet you do get is Killer. With the Killer helmet, it is a very effective helmet if you like looking through a letterbox. I used to call it the Ned Kelly helmet. If you want to Google that, feel free. Ned Kelly's an Australian folklore. He's not folklore. He's a real person that but used to wear a helmet very similar to the Killer helmet. The problem with the helmet is that you obstruct your vision a lot, and it sells really good to vendor and the flea market. So I generally just rather sell that and be able to see my game clearly. So there has been a lot of talking here, guys, and I hope you guys have learnt a lot from it. This is all my personal preferences. I do want to start teaching you guys a lot more. I did realize the other day that I haven't really been putting out a lot of guides recently, and I've been just putting out mostly highlights. I have had a lot going on, and I do apologize for that, but hopefully you guys learnt a lot about this. Feel free to share your opinions on armors and all that down below. I'm happy to hear it when I do put the big 1 to 40 gear leveling guide in, or the updated version. I will read all these comments to try and find new tips and tricks that I might have missed out on. So please share your views down there. Thanks for watching as always. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for future content. I do stream on Twitch every single day of the week. I am only a couple hundred followers away from my 100,000 followers, which is incredible. I haven't even been streaming and content creation for less than 2 years, so that's incredible. And yeah, as always, if you've got any Tarkov questions, feel free to hit me up on my live stream or down in the comments below. And lastly, I'll see you next time. Ooh, just a little bit. Ooh, little bit more. Ooh, just a little bit. You know what you're looking for.